Hello and welcome to Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. You found us somewhere on the radio, on community newspapers, great broadcasting system, or you're into some other social media where you've come across our program, Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston, and I'm the national spokesperson for Section 664 and Social Security. There we go. Section 664 and Social Security. I used to say it's only Social Security, and now I include Section 664 because that's what this is really all about. It's about getting you aware of what Section 664 does and what Social Security means. Social Security is the trademark, the branding that we've done at Endow American Network Foundation to identify the ways that these programs help you get income for later in life, like Social Security. Also gives you an opportunity to create some tax deductions and eventually do something really good for the community. This is also about planning. It's about retirement planning for individuals. It's about estate planning. It's about income tax planning. All of those things can be done using Section 664 and Social Security. As you know, Wanda, our phenomenal producer, has been working very diligently with our radio station, with our digital radio station, and she is very much into the music scene. And it makes it possible for me to interview some very famous people in the music industry. And I had that opportunity to interview a gentleman. We joined that in progress. I had just gotten to meet David Combs, and we were talking about what's going on in the world today. And here's that interview.
And I don't know about you, but I was one of those that felt extremely patriotic. The words that kept reverberating in my head from his speech to the country was the word freedom. This wasn't about oil. This wasn't about anything else. It was about freedom.
Right.
And I determined that I was going to do another album anyway. And I determined that I wanted to do a patriotic album. And to me, it was to celebrate freedom, our freedom.
Right.
And so that's exactly what this did. And the proceeds from that album funded an endowed scholarship for an MBA student at Wake Forest University. And it is still in effect. It's grown about 3 times what it was when I started it. We have basically had over 25 recipients of that scholarship since then at Wake Forest University. And it's designed I made it specifically for military individuals or their spouses. I was thinking about, when you're starting a war, you never know who's going to be coming home and who isn't.
Right.
And it's always a struggle for those that come home without with a disability, or they don't come home and their spouse is then, kind of fending for themselves. I wanted to give them a leg up on an MBA at Wake Forest University if I could. And so we named the scholarship the Combs Celebrate Freedom Scholarship at Wake Forest University. And that was our first scholarship, really. And
that's a great story, David. I don't think people really grasp the impact that it has on our own well-being. And from the way that you're describing it is just that this was a thing of passion for you that you felt strongly about. How did Rachel's song come about?
Well, that was a song that I really sat down and literally played in 1991. I was coming off of a grieving process I had lost my father 3 days before Christmas in 1980. And as I'm sure aware, that the grieving process can do strange things to you. You go through all kinds of peaks and valleys, and it's like riding a roller coaster of emotions.
Yes.
Well, my way of relaxing and basically taking my mind off my troubles has always been to sit down at the piano and play something. Whether it's, turn on the radio and play along with the radio or play some sheet music. This particular time in January, this was probably about 3 or 4 weeks after my father passed away, I was sitting at my piano in my basement, and I had just freshly tuned it up. It was an old 100-year-old piano that wouldn't hold its tune. So I tuned it up as best I could. I had a tuning hammer, and I could, by ear, get it so it sounded halfway decent. And I always liked to play something pretty whenever I had my piano freshly tuned. Well, this particular evening, I sat down, and once I had it tuned, and I never will forget sitting there and just putting my fingers on the keyboard, and I started to play. And it was as if I was playing a song that had existed for 100 years. I played a melody, and it had a chorus. And I played it again and again, and it never changed. I mean, I never did work at it to change anything of it. It was a song that it was, and basically I feel like it was a gift from God to me. And I was
you're expressing your genius, which is really an amazing thing. When I see it, I always talk about it with people, that when you can get to the point where you're working at your genius and you can do that 24 hours a day and never get tired of it, that's a great thing. And so it's almost like it came instinctively from whatever your mental capacity was at that time. It's a
right, exactly. Story. Yeah. It was a gift, and then it had no name. It was just a song that I played, and
why did you call it Rachel's Song?
Well, it didn't have a name for the longest time because my wife, in fact, she didn't even know I had written the song until she came home from work one day, and she said, "What's the name of this song I've been humming in my head all day long?" And she hummed a little bit of it, and I said, "Well, Linda, it doesn't have a name. It's just something I made up." Mm-hmm. And she said, "What? You wrote that?" I said, "Well, I guess I just made it up. I play it." Well, she got all excited and made me she said, "Have you written it down?" I said, "Well, no, I've got it up here." She said, "No, something might happen to you, and truck might run over you, and that'd be the end of that song." So wow. I did write it down and put it in my piano bench, but it had no name. We tried to think of names for it, and it just nothing ever fit. Right. And then 2 years later, some good friends of ours had a little baby girl, and they asked me and Linda to be her godparents. Of course, we were delighted to do that. And so at her christening service, I had not planned to do this, but at her private christening service, we're sitting there after all the minister goes through his all blessings and the formal part of the service. Mm-hmm. And I punched Linda. I said, "Linda, maybe now's a good time for me to play this little song." There was a beautiful grand piano sitting at the front of the church.
Yeah, wow.
And so I said, she said, "Yeah." So I went up and asked the minister and the family if it'd be okay if I played a song. They said, "Sure." So everybody sat back down, and I went over to this grand piano and sat down. And I started playing this tune. And about halfway through the song, I hear sniffles in the crowd. And I noticed that I'm having a little leakage out of my eyes, the little tear ducts working.
Right.
And so when I finished the song and the last notes were just dying away, I looked up and said, "From now on, this song will be called Rachel's Song in her honor." And that's how it got its name.
That's a fantastic story. Music touches the soul. There's no question about that. Given circumstances, I can see where that's emotional. So is that song, I'm sure that song is played at a lot of weddings and other special events for just that reason. It's a very emotional
yes.
song.
I've gotten letters from over 50,000 people around the world over the past 40 years about that song and my music. And it's been used in weddings. It's been used in funerals. It's been used in christening services, obviously, for church service offertories, preludes, that kind of thing. And so I have printed sheet music for the piano players of the world that want to play it. They can purchase Rachel's Song and play it for themselves. And it's note for note exactly what's played on the recording.
That's phenomenal. And I think that would bring a lot of comfort to people, especially at this time. We need to play Rachel's Song for the world in a way. There's a lot of healing that needs to go on.
Yeah, the emotions, I think, really bring out a lot of creativity in people. You hear a lot of songwriters, country music folks make their living about this somebody done somebody wrong song kind of thing. That's right. But emotions and trying times do bring out that creativity and to the surface, I think. And so I don't know about you, but my heart is bleeding today for the folks in Ukraine. Every time I turn on the news and see those wonderful people being slaughtered and tested and tried, and we're back to this same subject.
That's right. Freedom.
Celebrate freedom. We're talking about freedom, folks, and that's why they're willing to give their lives for their country. They're right on the front firing line right now, and so who knows what creativity will come out of that conflict. But I feel
we've certainly had losses, and we certainly are experiencing more losses every day. And so tell me a little bit about Touched by the Music. We've basically been talking about how you get touched by the music, but that is a book that you've written, and
yes,
you want people to share your genius?
Well, it's kind of a memoir of a song, if you want to think of it that way. It's really about. It starts, of course, I do give a little background in the book about my upbringing and growing up in East Tennessee and my music, that kind of thing. But it really starts in the book mainly with the writing of Rachel's song, that event that we just talked about, and then how it progressed from there to, of course, the naming, and then 3 years later, how it got recorded, and then how it got played on the radio all over the country eventually, and then how I basically started being able to sell my music, CDs and cassette tapes at the time, all over the country through gift shops, and how that process of the organic growth of the business enabled me to quit my job, my good paying job at AT&T in 1992, really? And do my music full time from then on. And so it's just been a wonderful
I would never have known that you were not in music your entire life. But that's that's a beautiful thing. It's a story that we like to have other people experience as well, which is to be able to move to the point where you love what you're doing and you can share with the world. And your philanthropy is amazing to give love of humanity through music like that. I must say, David, it's quite moving, a very moving story, and I applaud you for whatever I could add to that. Believe me, I'm just a negative here. You're very positive, and I appreciate that. So, what is the next dream?
I have basically. Well, I did this book last year. It was a pandemic project. We're here, we're at home, we can't go anywhere, so I might as well write a book, right?
Exactly.
So I did, but I have had so many stories that are really inspirational stories and motivating stories for entrepreneurs. Basically, I grew my own Combs music business from one song to 14 albums and 170 or 80 songs recorded, and
that's fantastic.
And all those that's an entrepreneurial story. But my product was my music and my printed music and my audible music. And then last year, this book came about from putting all those stories down on paper so that somebody could pick that book up. And without me standing there telling them my stories, they could read my stories and hopefully be inspired either by the inspirational entrepreneurial aspect of it, or maybe they would be inspired to go listen to the music and again be inspired and touched by the music itself. So it really was a hand-in-glove thing with my previous albums of music. It was just a way to extend it on with spreading the word around the world. And with today's technology, I mean, you can go, I've been on podcasts like this with somebody in Australia. They're 12 hours away from me.
Yep.
Or in London, England. It doesn't matter.
It's amazing what we can do today. And well, maybe there's a movie in your future too. Touched by the Music is a great title actually for a lot of reasons. My guest is Dave Combs. Dave is a master songwriter, master musician, master at the art of life, and we appreciate your genius and being with us today on Route 664, the road to human kindness. Your music is along that road to human kindness. We appreciate that very much. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Les. This has been a wonderful time to meet you in person finally, and
Yes.
you're doing God's work. So keep at it, and I appreciate you very much. And thanks again for letting me be your guest.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for giving us this beautiful music.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's quite a piece of work by David Combs, and something that is very moving. And at times like this, we need that kind of inspirational feeling. So things can get better in the world all around. Our project, Section 664 and Social Security, is the means to that end. We think that we can create a world where there is no war. 664, not war, is one of the slogans that we talk about on our website at socialsecurity.org. If you go to that website, you can find a lot of information. You'll find a way to get to advisors who know how to do this work. The professional philanthropic advisors are listed there. You can find one in your area who can help you do this type of planning using Section 664 and Social Security. You can also find our white paper. The white paper was written by myself and John Caperso. We've been refining it over time because it's actually a living document, one that we believe tells our story, and one that we want to keep current. So if you want to check out what our mission is all about, what voluntary and involuntary Section 664 and Social Security are all about, it's in that white paper. We also have a graphic that was designed by Mariana Pecans, our wonderful lady who handles the website. She put together a graphic on the differences between Section 664 and Social Security and Social Security, which it sounds very much like. There are very there's a lot of similarities and a lot of important differences that that those two concepts have. So Section 664 and Social Charity versus Social Security. You also find a link there to our digital radio station, which is produced by Wanda Miles, and you'll find some of the world's greatest music, the uplifting happiness music, things that music that makes you happy during the day. And also you'll hear some of our special programs like Jazzy Sunday, which is, I'm sorry, Just Jazz, which is Les Haber's program, and then Classy Sundays, which is Mike Paxton, and then also the soulful sounds of Steve Cole, a DJ. And that's a great way to spend your Sunday, listening to the music and cleaning the house, doing whatever chores are necessary. We also have case studies on the site where you can look at how people have used non-cash assets in Section 664 and Social Security to increase their income, to reduce their taxes, and eventually to leave something to the community, something to a non-governmental organization that they want to support, a 501c3 nonprofit, a charity that they want to support, or that a lot of them that they want to support. Maybe they want to sprinkle it over a lot of different charities. You have that ability to sprinkle your charity by using a donor-advised fund. We also have a part on there that there's a section which defines or shows the difference between a donor-advised fund and a pooled income fund. Two things that you may have heard something about, but that you want to find out more about how they can be used in your own situation, your personal situation. If you have non-cash assets, if you're going to have a taxable event coming up in the not too distant future, maybe you should look into this to see whether or not there's a way that this can help you. So you can see a comparison of a donor advised fund and a pooled income fund. You can also find the Adventures of Charity, which is our storyline on charity and the great characters that were created by Guido Gonzalez, our illustrator, Pithecus, Chigaro, and Cratius. Those wizards have amazing powers that charity is able to direct into problem-solving needs of the world, and charity does a phenomenal job with that. And you can find the Adventures of Charity there. You can also find Heroic Fridays by Osmond Darwish. The works of Osmond Darwish are there too, essays that he's written about the work that we are doing and things that can be done through Section 664 and Social Security. This is a labor of love for him, and you can read it in his writing. He's an amazing young man. He has quite a talent for putting into words these complex concepts. So that's really interesting essays that he's written. And you'll find those on the website as well on socialcharity.org. And then you can also be a part of the education process where we want to educate professional philanthropic advisors. We need to create more of those. And so we have programs where we're partnering with chambers of commerce to increase the endowment education of communities, how communities can endow their non-governmental organizations and make them more effective, particularly schools. We want to make sure all the schools are safe and great. We want to make sure that our kids are protected, and that we sometimes don't have the funding available through the normal tax system to be able to do that. And so we want to provide supplemental funding for schools, and we think that that's a really good thing as well. All of that can be found on socialcharity.org, and that website is our communication to the world. So go there. Also, check out Social Charity on Google. We're on Amazon Music. Our replays of our interviews are being broadcast in more than one social media device: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. All those we're participating in, so check them out. But most of all, don't forget to listen to our digital radio station at route664.org radio, route664.org/radio. You can go there by putting in Route 664, the road to human kindness, Route 664 radio. It does come up and you should have no problems reaching it. And then you can listen to the music all day and the interviews that we've done in the past and get an education about Section 664 and Social Security. This is a great opportunity for us that we have with community newspapers, and we certainly appreciate their helping us get the word out. And we hope that you, the listener, the watcher, the viewer, are enjoying our interviews and are getting into the concepts that we're trying to bring forth, is Section 664 and Social Security, and how it can help you individually. You can reduce your taxes. You can, and that's reducing any tax. That's income tax, estate tax, capital gains tax. You can use non-cash assets to increase your income through the use of charitable trusts, and those are reliable devices, just as reliable as the government with Social Security, and hopefully it's even more so because it's a little bit more in your control, and you can see where your money is being invested and you know what's going on with how you're getting your income. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Most people don't know about it. It's been around for a long time, and this is the way for you to learn about Section 664 and Social Security. Join us again next week on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston, and I am the national spokesperson for Social Security. Route 664 is a way for you to get to know that number, 664, just like a 401k, 529. Those numbers are sections of the tax code. So is this. And you need to know how to use it. And that's what this is all about. We can build endowment in America. We can actually endow America. That's what the Endow America Network, Endow America Foundation Network is all about. We can do this. So join us. And thank you for listening and watching. We'll see you again next week.